Welcome to NHK's Radio English Conversation Program. I'm Marcia Krakauer.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jeff Clark. We're here to enjoy learning English together. Let's move on now to a multicultural city. A philanthropic Cabby.
Amy and Kelly share a cab and find the driver very talkative.
Here in America, you have great wealth, but you're selfish.
Selfish? How so?
It would cost so little for you to be charitable, but you turn your back on countries like mine.
New York's full of opinionated cabbies.
Maybe I have become outspoken since I moved to America. Where I come from, it's difficult to voice an opinion.
Where are you from? India?
Yes, near Calcutta. I came here after earning my law degree.
You should be a lawyer instead of a taxi driver.
Not at all. I love talking to passengers about life, about politics.
Aren't you at all bitter? I mean, about not being an attorney.
Why should I be? From the front seat, I get to exercise my right to free speech every single day.
And we passengers get to listen.
Yes, it's a beautiful thing.
Don't you miss your homeland?
I channel my homesickness into a school for girls in my old village.
What do you do? Send money?
I founded it. Here, I'm a struggling immigrant. But to my students in India...
You're a philanthropist. I'm so impressed.
The 2-story brick house where I was raised is now a schoolhouse.
How can you afford to educate a village?
Money buys so much more there than in New York.
You got that right. I'm still paying off my college loans.
How much do I owe you?
That's $3.50 on the meter.
It was a pleasure to ride with you. Keep the change.
Thank you, miss. And bless you. My girls could use it.
Community Outreach Program.
Jack's high school guidance counselor, Sheila, introduces him to Nam, who is recruiting volunteers for a community outreach program.
Good to meet you, Nam.
I'm glad you wanted to participate. It's not easy finding volunteers.
Actually, I volunteered Jack for this program. I thought he'd be a natural.
Being American is a good start. The kids in our group need role models.
I hope I fit the bill. Fill me in on the specifics.
I'll leave you two to get acquainted.
The program is called the Youth Leadership Project.
I assume you mean youth as in teenager?
Yes, we have teens from all backgrounds, but most of the kids are Southeast Asian.
Are they second-generation Americans or newly arrived immigrants?
It varies. Where I live, in the Bronx, they're mostly children of refugees.
It must be challenging heading up a program like this.
Actually, I'm one of its success stories. The YLP saved me from the streets. A year before I was born, my parents came here penniless from Vietnam.
I can't imagine how tough that must have been.
It was. Even if they were poor in Vietnam, they still owned their land. Here, poor is really poor.
They've done well. I'm told you just graduated from college.
My parents have lived a hard life. I feel obligated to succeed for their sake.
Tell me what I can do for you at the Leadership Project.
Next week, we're throwing a community party. We could use your help for that.
What are you celebrating?
15 years of Southeast Asian history in the Bronx. There'll be plenty of traditional singing and dancing.
I hope you're not expecting me to dance or anything.
I see you more as a kitchen worker.
I'm not much of a cook. How about making me official pot scrubber?
You got it.
Cross-cultural misunderstandings.
Lee's comes by the agency, where Amy, Marco, and Joel have just wrapped up a presentation for a snowboard commercial with some foreign clients.
How'd it go, guys?
None of our ideas pleased those snowboard clients of ours.
Not even the one where you had snowboarders talking about the Winter Olympics?
We gave it our best shot, but our efforts got no response.
Lee's, chances are your director might end up not getting the job.
We win some, we lose some.
Later, at a restaurant, they continue to talk about the presentation.
Whatever your client said, I liked those storyboards you guys did.
Maybe you can help us on this, Lise.
On what?
On why these cross-cultural misunderstandings occur.
Right. American clients would have reacted in a completely different way.
Well, let me ask you this. What was it you couldn't stomach about those clients?
For one thing, they were just going for the name brand stars.
They came to us for our expertise in the American marketplace.
And then they totally ignored what any of us had to say.
They were also insisting on all those cliches. You know, things straight out of action films.
You can't blame them. After all, those are some of America's most popular cultural exports.
You're right. Movie studios now mostly make action films with stars that'll sell globally.
Action films with minimal subtitles travel well. They're considered less risky for the global market.
So action stars and cliches confirm stereotypes about Americans.
That might explain why your clients didn't buy your ideas.
So in large part, it's our fault for not catering to stereotypes.
Ironically, this may be the payback for all those films America's been exporting.
Great. We've become victims of our own export scheme.
Census 2000.
Joel wanders into Margot's office to look for Amy.
Where's Amy this morning?
She went to see her grandmother at the Senior Citizen Center.
Down in Chinatown, right? I've heard that's a really nice place.
Yeah, but they're cutting back on aids, so Amy went to file a complaint.
Well, isn't that always how it is? The economy booms, but social services go downhill.
That's why I was so keen on filling out Census 2000.
What does the census have to do with anything?
That's how the government figures out where to distribute federal funding.
Come on. The census is just another invasion of privacy.
I'm sensing you didn't fill yours out.
All those probing questions? Who needs it?
Don't you care about your community?
I don't see how filling out a form that asks about my ethnicity helps my community.
The city's diverse. The government needs statistics.
What does it matter if I'm Hispanic or African American or whatever?
It's important to assess immigration trends and to promote equal employment opportunities.
My family's been in this country for generations.
That's just you. Besides, the census impacts you in other ways.
Yeah, it impacts my weekend. I hate filling out forms.
It might be hard to grasp, but the census impacts various decisions.
Like what?
The census determines how many representatives each state sends to Congress.
Ah, it always comes down to politics, doesn't it?
No, it also comes down to Amy's grandmother. Community organizations use census info for developing social service programs.
Like the number of aides employed at a senior citizen center?
Bingo. So whatever you do, don't tell Amy you blew off Census 2000.
Jeff, multiculturalism in the sense of needing to respect and explore other cultures seems to have been redefined in the United States as well as in many other countries since the tragic events of September 11th.
In what respect, Marcia?
Well, first of all, many New Yorkers used to believe and probably still do believe that they live in a multicultural city. So it was very ironic that New York City was targeted.
True. But perhaps there are forces in the world that don't like the idea of people of different cultures living harmoniously together.
Well, that ideal of harmonious coexistence was celebrated in the 80s and 90s. But now everybody suddenly realized that they knew very little about some cultures.
Yeah, true. Although schools and other institutions were enrolling and hiring people from various ethnic backgrounds, they were often unconsciously ignoring people from other backgrounds. And then in some ways, our cultural awareness has even gone backwards. For example, in American colleges and here in Japanese schools as well, I think, the requirement to study foreign languages has drastically dropped compared to what it was back in the 1960s.
Some might argue, though, that the number of students who study abroad is increasing. But actually, the list of countries students prefer to go to isn't very long. Most go to countries like Germany, England, and France.
Well, anyway, I'm glad to see that since last September, there's this new interest in the Middle East. I mean, I've heard that books on Islam in America today are bestsellers.
And people are echoing that old cliche about how Americans learn their geography by war.
Well, ironically, it's a pattern we saw during the Cold War years. After all, it was a competition for space exploration and all that with the former Soviet Union that encouraged many Americans to study the Russian language and culture. But you know, if it leads to peace, so what? Human evolution never proceeds in a straight line. All right, next let's go explore donating and volunteering.